All right, time now for Explain and Verify. And South Africa's newest political player is Unite for Change, a merger of Build One South Africa Good as well as RISE Mzansi. The formation plans to register with the IEC and contest the next elections in one ticket. Right, so tonight we are asking, does strength in numbers deliver? Samgel.
Well, Bongiwe, mergers ain't new, especially for smaller parties, and Unite for Change arrives right on the cue as the country builds towards the 2026 local elections. But these unions are fragile. Leadership clashes, policy misalignment, and the hard work of fusing ground structures can derail momentum. Even with a bigger resource pool, donor alignment is not guaranteed if the new umbrella stretches beyond funders' preferences. And as coalitions have shown, mergers gamble with voter trust. The upside for Unite for Change is that the two of its leaders carry the first-hand experience of South Africa's longest-running post-1994 merger, the DA. They have learned lessons they could study with the latest merger project. For instance, if we go to history, Independent Democrats, you look at the Independent Democrats and the Democratic Alliance, that was a merger, Bongiwe, and that will ultimately help, particularly when you look at the likes of Patricia de Lille, Musi Maimani, and also Songezo Zibe in trying to build this Unite for Change movement that will ultimately have to go out to the polls to try and get South Africans to vote for this particular party. But if you look at the bad separation that was there between Patricia de Lille and also the Democratic Alliance, it could ultimately mean that this new particular vehicle could face some of these particular problems. For instance, if you look in 2000, the Democratic Alliance, the new party, and the Federal Alliance fused into the Democratic Alliance to strengthen the opposition to the ANC. A year later, the NNP walked out and ultimately disbanded in 2005, yet the DA held the line. Today, 25 years on, it remains the main opposition with 87 seats in parliament from 2015 to 2019. Musi Maimani led the DA, a tenure that now frames his role in the new wave of opposition alignment within the country. Going into our next particular slide, Bongi, where you look at BOSA, which is Musi Maimani's political party, 2020, they've got 2 seats, and that was ultimately a 0.4% outcome within the elections. You go to Good Party of Patricia de Lille, 2018, they've got 1 seat, 0.1%. Then ultimately you come to RISE Mzansi, 2 seats, 0.42%. And that will ultimately tell you that these political parties at this point in time don't have the groundswell support within South Africans. They don't have the groundswell support within the so-called middle class that is there within the country that is disenfranchised. And particularly if you look at that middle class, you cannot totally say that this middle class votes for this political party, because that is about 1.6, 1.8 million votes that over the years have fluctuated from the United Democratic Movement of Bantu Holomisa to the Congress of the People and various other political parties like your Economic Freedom Fighters. Your Action SA as well benefited from this particular middle class bulge, and there are many other political parties that have benefited from this particular middle class bulge that is not dogged on voting for any specific political formation. Another enduring amalgamation is the Freedom Front Plus. In 2003, the Freedom Front Plus Conservative Party and the Afrikaner Aiden Beserweg united under the FF Plus banner ahead of the 2004 elections and the Federal Alliance joining in 2007. While it has never threatened the ANC nationally, Freedom Front Plus has maintained consistent parliamentary footprint. It now holds 6 seats in the National Assembly, down from 10 seats in 2019. For instance, the Freedom Front Plus have performed very well within recent elections. They've been able to garner some of the votes from the Democratic Alliance, particularly, which ultimately led to the return of Helen Zille as the federal chairperson of the Democratic Alliance, the ousting of Ethel Trollip, the ousting of Musi Maimani, in order to try and get that Freedom Front and Afrikaner vote back from the Freedom Front Plus and back into the Democratic Alliance, which saw the rise of Celia's Brink in a municipality of the capital city of the country, such as Tshwane. That was that particular merger, Bongiwe, at that particular point in time.
So, Samgele, when you look at the Independent Democrats themselves, let's talk about their journey, and particularly when you look at them then getting to the point of working with the Democratic Alliance.
You look at the rise of Patricia de Lille, you look at how the Western Cape, that particular colored vote, the Democratic Alliance needed it so much in order to wrestle the Western Cape, the city of Cape Town, from the African National Congress. You saw that was in the departure of Helen Zille from the Metro going up into the province of the Western Cape, and that ultimately saw Helen Zille, Patricia de Lille, Lindiwe Masibuko, Mmusi Maimane, and that famous picture of those kisses of Helen Zille that ultimately ended badly with all of those whom she has kissed having walked out of the Democratic Alliance. But looking at Patricia de Lille, the Independent Democrats ID, entered into a merger with Helen Zille's DA in 2020 to bolster opposition to the ANC. De Lille was elected as the mayor of the city of Cape Town in 2011, served 2 terms, and resigned from the DA in October 2018. 2 months later, she launched the Good Party that ultimately speaks to those particular kisses that I speak about. Then we come to Unite for Change, will be steered by a leaders' council drawing from all 3 parties: Dr. Mmusi Maimane and Nobantu Holo Webster of BOSA, Patricia de Lille and Brett Horan representing Good, and from RISE Mzansi, Songezo Zibi and Vuyiswa Ramokgopa. A 6-person top table has its challenges. Decision-making and execution may be stalled, with each party leaning towards its own political ideals. The test will be tight: rules on who decides what, clear portfolios, and a fast dispute resolution mechanism to keep the council decisive. This is ultimately the council, leaders of the council: Mmusi Maimane, Dr. Mmusi Maimane, Nobantu Holo Webster of BOSA. Then you come to Good Party, Patricia de Lille, Brett Heron. Then you come to RISE Mzansi, Songezo Zibi, and Vuyiswa Ramokgopa. Songezo Zibi is a chairperson of one of the committees in the National Assembly, Scopa in the National Assembly. Then you've got to Vuyiswa Ramokgopa, who is an MEC within the province of Gauteng, MEC of Agriculture. You'd remember Scopa, where he looks at the finances of the various state-owned enterprises, municipalities, and has been saying that government expenditure is too much and it must drastically be reduced. Many have said that he's ultimately being groomed to take over as the Minister of Finance should Enoch Godongwana decide to take out of politics anytime soon. And that would be rather interesting to see, noting that Songezo Zibi has worked at one of the big conglomerate banks within the country, where the former MMC of Economic Development of Gauteng now is the group CEO of that particular bank. Unfortunately, I won't give them free advertising.
You can't.
I can't.
You can't. Otherwise, I will ask Ukanyi to switch off your mic. You cannot.
But ultimately founded in 2020 and officially launched in 2002, BOSA holds 2 seats in Parliament. Good was established in 2018 and has a solo seat, while RISE Mzansi has 2 and was founded by a former editor, Zibi, in 2023. Together, they hold 1% of the national vote as the 2024 elections outcomes. In South Africa, party mergers can fix fragmentation, but only when politics and leaders are aligned and prioritize voter needs. The DA's 2000 merger held because the anchor brand and structures outlived partner exits. The Freedom Front Plus is still standing despite the decline in its parliamentary representation. Unite for Change now tries the same play ahead of the 2026 local government elections. It's too soon to tell if this instance they will be strengthened in their numbers. And when we speak about numbers and on the ground, you look at Soweto, for example. The recent by-election in Soweto, there was a huge voter turnout for Action SA of Herman Mashaba. The numbers the ANC got were drastically reduced because of the formation of the MK party. Ultimately, the EFF is also receiving a hammering in Soweto, where in the last election, particularly in the local government, in the last national election, one of the best performing wards of the EFF was the bonded houses in Protea Glen. But those people are seemingly now moving away to your Action SA, which appeals to them, which is that entry-level starter of the middle class within the country. And that just tells you, with the various 3 starters of the middle class, entry level, middle level, and upper level middle class, those starters on its own within the middle class, you cannot categorically state that they will either vote ANC, Action SA, DA, Economic Freedom Fighters, or the new kids on the block, BOSA, Good, RISE Mzansi. It is a variety where they, on a need-to basis, they decide on whatever attends to their needs that they vote for. But with the deplorable state of services that are provided to the people, particularly within townships within the country, that voter bloc is moving away from various political parties and moving to your likes of Action SA and other political parties. It remains to be seen whether Mmusi Maimane, who hails from one of the areas of Soweto,
In
Dobsonville, can be able to carry those people and have them with him in this coming election. And Songo Zizibo going out to the Eastern Cape, they had an aggressive campaign in the Eastern Cape, but it did not yield the results that they wanted. Go to good party, Patricia de Lille. That particular colored vote has seemingly been scooped up and swamped away by Gayton Mackenzie's Patriotic Alliance.